What's up, guys? How are you doing? Hope you are having a wonderful Saturday. Today what we're going to be doing is making some ramen noodles. Let's go ahead and get this started. Get my backup cameras going. So if we have not met before, my name is Pat Tokuyama. I'm the creator of Japanese Cooking Club, where I help people learn how to make plant-based Japanese food, as well as All Day I Eat Like a Shark, which is a blog and YouTube channel. So today, what we're going to be doing is making some chukamen. Chukamen is Chinese-style noodles. You may have had them in your ramen, maybe your yakisoba, or hiyashichuka, which is actually what we're going to be making today, because it's very hot outside. I don't know where you guys are, but it feels kind of like summer over here in Orange County. So if this is your first time here, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, and I'll show you a little link for that if you're not already subscribed. Could be a good way for you to get access to the high definition replays if you're watching on Facebook, or if you're already on YouTube, then just hit that subscribe and give me a thumbs up to let me know what you think. Let me know if you can also hear the sound just fine, and then we can go ahead and get started. So I got a little of some of the ingredients here ready to go, and let me double check that the sound is good. All right. So what we're going to be doing first is weighing out our flour. This is my nut milk bag. And if you've never made ramen before, it's actually not too difficult. My little mic thing came off. Let me fix this really quick, and then we can go ahead and get started. So these actually are going to be sort of a plant-based ramen because we're not using eggs. So here I have cake flour, and here I have bread flour. So we're going to be using a 50-50 mix, 250 grams each. First thing that we're going to do is weigh it out, and then we're going to sift it before kneading it in my stand mixer. So let me make some space here. So if you don't have a scale, highly recommend that you get one. It's definitely useful if you're into baking or any kind of noodles, things like that. Use it all the time. Don't know what happened there, but anyways, we're going to be doing 250 grams each. So we'll just do the bread flour first. All right, so there's 250 grams of bread flour, 250 grams of cake flour. So 500 grams total. All right, so now what we're going to do is sift it into the mixing bowl here. And once we have everything sifted, we're going to add some baking powder, 5 grams of salt, and water. Oh, forgot to sift it. I need to sift it first. So I'm going to just use my strainer here. If you guys don't have a flour sifter, you could just use your wire mesh strainer. It's better than nothing. So make some space really quick. All right. So if this is your first time joining me, feel free to let me know in the comments to say hello. Also, let us know where you're watching from. Got a pretty international audience, so it's always interesting to see where people are joining from. So this helps to make your flour, your dough, evenly mixed and no clumps, because you can see there's little clumps here. Actually, let me change that view for you. Sometimes if you don't have your flour sifted, there's little clumps in there, and so It might not be even. So definitely recommend that you do this if you haven't before. Doesn't take too long. And let me know also if you have had homemade ramen noodles, or maybe you've made homemade ramen. I don't really make it too often because it's kind of salty, but I think today was a good day to make it, so I figured I would just do a really quick live with you guys, plus a little bit more, which we're going to be getting into in just a little bit. Some of the things that I've been learning about is growing mushrooms, specifically shiitake mushrooms, because they can tend to be somewhat expensive if you get the good quality ones from Japan, especially. And even at the supermarket, they're pretty expensive. So I figured, since we have a little bit more time to spend at home, that I would learn how to grow my own shiitake mushrooms. And there's so many different types, as well as growing mediums. So they typically grow on logs, but the shiitake mushrooms that I'm going to be sharing with you shortly come in plastic bags, and you can actually get them online if you want to give it a try. You don't really need anything, any kind of special equipment or whatever to get started. And you'll have fresh shiitake mushrooms in as little as a few weeks. And mine actually started to fruit before I was even ready to fruit them. So I'll show you what they look like in just a minute. But here we have our very evenly sifted flour, and now we're just going to add in the salt, baking powder, and the water, and we're going to knead it in my stand mixer. Of course, you can do it by hand. You can also step on it like you would if you're going to be making udon noodles, but for these chukamen, Chinese style noodles, you can just use your stand mixer. It's a lot simpler. So here we are. This is 500 grams, nice and sifted. It looks kind of like snow. So that's how that looks right there. We're going to go ahead and attach it onto there, and then we're going to go ahead and add in 5 grams of salt and then 5 grams of baking powder. Use my dough hook, and then also this beater to mix it first. Actually, I'm going to use the whisk. Whisk also works. I prefer to use the whisk, actually. It's a little bit quicker. Just a little bit. So there's that. And then we can measure out 5 grams each. So once we get everything combined and it turns into a dough, what we're going to do is let it rest. You should let it rest for about 20 minutes, at least up to an hour in the refrigerator, so that it starts to form some gluten. The gluten structure, which helps to make it chewy and also firm, and will prevent it from baking or breaking. So it's roughly a teaspoon. 2 teaspoons. A little bit less. 1.5 teaspoons. All right, so there's the baking powder, and then we're going to do the salt. So 10 grams total. Throw that in there, get this started. Show you what this looks like. Doesn't look like anything special right now. And I need 220 mils of water, which is going to be about almost a cup. And you can add this in about 5 to 8 iterations. So you don't want to add it in all at once. You want to give the flour a chance to soak up some of the liquid. And that's going to be pretty much it. The next thing that we're going to do is roll it out with the pasta cutter. So I actually got a new pasta cutter set here. Oops. So this is the new version of the KitchenAid. I had the three noodle series, which actually the roller broke, so I had to get a new one. So I got the new set. And that one actually has four different shapes that you can cut. So that's what that is. Definitely recommend getting one if you're interested in making pasta, including Japanese pasta like the ramen that we're making today, as well as soba, buckwheat noodles. Okay, so now what we're going to do is put in the water with the dough hook. Do this in sections, not sections, batches, I guess if you want to call it that. Let me make sure that you guys are doing all right here. I'll show you the recipe actually really quick as well. So this is what we're going to be making today. We're going to be just doing the ramen noodles, also known as chukamen, as well as two tares. One is going to be more of a shoyu osu, rice vinegar based tare, and the second one is going to be a miso tare, which is a miso based seasoning. And here is the recipe for the ramen noodles. So 250 grams cake flour, 250 grams of bread flour, 5 grams of baking powder, and 5 grams of salt, 220 mils of water roughly, and then a little bit of potato starch, corn starch, some sort of a starch to help the noodles not stick to each other after you cut it. So we're going to go ahead and add in some of the water right now. And feel free to let me know if you guys have any questions. Leave them in the comments below. I will be checking the comments in between. Always got to mix it in. So you can see it's slowly starting to form a dough, which is what we want. So this is a 7-quart bowl, in case you guys are wondering. So it's a little bit on the deeper side. I also have a 4-quart bowl, which is a little bit shallower. And the reason why I'm not using that is that one tends to have the flour fly out everywhere. So I always like to use the deeper bowl. you can see it's almost done. It's starting to turn nice and doughy. Just getting some of the sides scraped off. All right, so you can see it's pretty cohesive at this point. And oops, it's almost done kneading. You want it to get nice and smooth, and we can let it rest for a little bit. So give this a couple more minutes in there, and then meanwhile, in case you're wondering, I was measuring out the ingredients that we're going to be using for our tare, our first tare. All right, so this is about the consistency that you should be going for. You want it nice and smooth. So you can actually form this into a little dough ball if you wanted to. And you can just stick this in the refrigerator for a little bit and let it rest, and then we can go ahead and roll it out once it's done and cut it into little noodles. So let's go ahead and put this away. And you can also freeze it too if you don't want to roll it out all at once, or you can cut it and then freeze it just like you would with pasta. It's up to you. I'm going to make this fit in here. Could have chosen a larger bag, I guess. So I'm curious, do you guys have any questions yet? Let me know below. If you're not, don't got any questions, let me know where you're watching from, what you're doing today. You're going to be making this. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is making the tare, which is super simple. And I showed you the recipe just now if you didn't catch it. Let me pull it up again for you. So we're going to be using about a half cup of shoyu right here, and about 6 tablespoons of rice vinegar also right here. And then we have about 3.5 tablespoons of sugar right here. And then we're also going to be using some osaka right here. This is going to be about a 1/4 cup, and we're just going to combine everything in a saucepan until the alcohol has cooked off. So there's the sugar, and just going to do about a 1/4 cup, and then the shoyu. And depending, obviously, if you want a stronger, if you prefer a stronger tsuyu or tare, you can cook it down, so it's going to get more concentrated. Or if you want it lighter, you can maybe even add in a little bit less shoyu, less soy sauce, or maybe even put a little bit of water if you want to thin it out. It's totally up to you. And same with the rice vinegar. You can cook it all together or you can put it in separately. So as soon as the alcohol smell is gone, what we're going to do is allow it to cool down, because we're making a cold dish. Chuka, hiyashichuka is a cold dish that's perfect for the summertime, hot weather like we're experiencing today, and very refreshing, very light, because basically all it is the noodles, the dressing, and some vegetables, which I'm going to be showing you what we're going to be using in just a minute. Usually it's traditionally served with egg, little tamagoyaki, which is like the little cut up slices of egg, which we're not going to be using. We're going to be using the cucumber, as well as some tomato and some ham, I think. You could also use aburage, which is tofu strips. So whatever you got, whatever you think would go good with the shoyu or soy sauce based sauce would be potentially a good fit for this. And so if you have had chukamen or Chinese style cold noodles, Japanese style, let me know in the comments below. I'd be curious, and what you like to put on it as well. So those are some of the more traditional things that you can actually put on it. Let's see how you guys are doing. For some reason the comments don't always update, so you guys gotta refresh it. Let's see. So we're going to get to the mushrooms that I was talking about in just a second. And there's 3 different types that I got. So the first, got to keep an eye on that. Oh yeah. So I guess before we start the mushroom thing, the other thing that I wanted to show you. So this is the recipe here for the hiyashichuka tare, which is a traditional seasoning for the noodles. And then this next one here is miso dare. This is what I actually made yesterday for lunch. We had some somen, which is another type of cold noodle, and I use that for this. I use this for that. And this is a miso based sauce. So you can just use tahini, or if you can get nirigoma, which is similar to tahini, you can use that as well. So that's the recipe for that. It's 1/4 cup of tahini, 1 teaspoon of miso paste, about a 1/2 tablespoon of sugar, or 1 to 2 tablespoons of sugar if you want it on the really sweet side. But I just used a 1/2 tablespoon yesterday. 1/2 tablespoon of tsuyu, which comes, you can get store-bought, or if you're going to be making your own, you can use either one. But make sure that if you're getting a store-bought, that you dilute it to the 1-to-1 ratio. So usually it's concentrated. So some types of tsuyu might be like, I don't know, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 8-to-1. And in that case, you have to add 8 parts of water to 1 part of that concentrate, and that'll get you the tsuyu that you're going to be using for this particular recipe. So keep that in mind. And then if you want some texture, you can also throw in some sesame seeds, which I didn't yesterday, but if you want a little bit of a crunch, you can also do that as well. And so that's what that is right here. You can use this for hiyashichuka. You can use this for nabemono, like if you want to do yudofu, even for your salads or vegetables. It does well for all kinds of different things. So that's what this is right here. And on the stove, we're making the other type of sauce, the tare, hiyashichuka tare. And as soon as that is done, and our noodles are done, actually I can go ahead and get set up for the noodles. So if you guys remember, I used to have a smaller KitchenAid, but because I was baking so much, I decided to upgrade, because this thing is a lot more powerful than what I used to have. It's actually 1.5 horsepower. And if you guys know, if you guys are familiar with horsepower, it's like literally the power of 1 horse to tow something. It's pretty powerful. 1.5 horses is going to help me roll out my chukamen. I was looking for the brush, but I don't know where it went. So this thing usually comes with a brush for you to clean off the flour. Where did it go? All right. So anyways, we're going to be rolling the noodles with this thing. Oops. And this is the same thing, same technique that you would use to make regular Italian-style pasta. First, you're going to roll it. You're going to roll it again, and even again, 2 or 3 more times. And the rolling serves a couple purposes. One is that you're going to be, it's sort of like kneading the dough one more time. So the more that you roll it, the more evenly kneaded the dough will be. And then 2 is to make it flat. So I usually start on 1. So if you have one of these, you'll know that there's little numbers on the roller which you can adjust. So 1 is the fattest or the thickest, and then the smaller or the higher number you go, the thinner it gets. So I usually go from 1 to 3 or 4 at the thinnest, and then I go ahead and cut the noodles. So that's the way I do it. I don't know about you guys. If you guys have made noodles before, let me know in the comments and what kind of noodles you made. I'd be interested to see what you guys have tried. Just checking in on the comments again because I don't think it got refreshed. Oh, there you guys are. Me is asking, what part number is this? So this is, what is this part number? KSM-PDX. So I did a review for the older version of this roller on my YouTube channel, and if you guys want to check that out. There's also a pasta cutter or extruder, so if you don't want to roll out your pasta, depending on what you're making, there's also one that pushes the pasta through a die, and it's a little bit easier to use, but it takes longer than this. You can check that out. You can check that review out as well. So, strong. Okay, so while we're waiting for our dough to rest, what we're going to do is get all of our other things ready. So at this point, you just want to clear your counter. Maybe get some potato starch, corn starch. I don't know where my starch went. And you could also use flour if you don't have starch. That'll help to prevent the noodles from sticking to each other, which you don't want. Okay. Don't need this. Don't need the sugar. So let me show you what I was talking about. It's kind of like a show and tell. I remember when I was a kid, show and tell was my favorite day of the week when we did show and tell. I don't remember what I showed and told, but I remember liking it. What about you guys? Actually, I don't know why I didn't put the comments on here. Usually I do that. So there's many types of Japanese mushrooms, but probably the most common Japanese mushrooms are shiitake, as well as after that maybe shimeji or maitake. Depending on where you live, you may be able to find all of those, or also enoki. So that's another 4th Japanese mushroom, which is pretty popular and easy to find, at least here in California. And I don't have the enoki, but I did find one interesting one which you guys might enjoy, and that one is called nameko. Nameko is a wood mushroom, and it is slimy. So that's what this thing is right here. Like I told you, these are mushroom kits which you can get online. If you want the links, I can share them with you after the fact. But this is a nameko mushroom kit, and it's got a very unique flavor. Not everybody may like it, especially if you're not fond of mushrooms, but I enjoy my mushrooms. They all have very different flavors, and they're also good for you. So that's what this one is. I did not read the instructions yet, but the person that I bought them from, I bought several because I was going to try them all out, and then also do my own from scratch. These are the instructions that I got. I think that was all of them. No. So this is the first kit. I have multiple kits. So I got the shiitake kit, and I also got the nameko mushroom kit, and then also chestnut mushrooms, which are supposed to be kind of like portobello. So that's the American mushroom that I got. And here is the chestnut mushroom kit. So that's what this one looks like right here. So you can kind of see how they look. They kind of look like small portobellos, but they're spotted. So I'm going to open this one and start to try to make them fruit. Fruit is the name of the mushroom after it grows from whatever it is that you're growing it on. And then here are a couple more of shiitakes, shiitake blocks. So this is, got these on eBay. And then here I got the king mushroom. So these are also known as iringi in Japanese. You might have seen them at the supermarket. They're really fat, and they have like a small, what do you call it, cap. I can show you what they look like. And these are actually really good mushrooms to use if you are trying to be plant-based like me. And the reason is they don't have much of a strong flavor on their own, and they're very meaty. So they also, you know, they cook down. So they like any mushroom, if you've cooked them for a long time, you'll notice that the size tends to decrease. And they're very good for you because they're plants, and they're good sources of protein and other vitamins, minerals, and nutrition. So that's what this thing is right here. And then I'll show you, because I actually have like I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, I have some mushrooms that actually popped out before I was ready for them. And they are in my little Tupperware. So that's what this is right here. So you don't necessarily need to use something like this. I just had an extra one, so that's why I'm using it. But I just put it on a plate because I didn't have anything else to put it on. And these are shiitake mushrooms. So they got kind of mutated because they were trapped inside of the bag, so the shape got kind of messed up. And I think I'm just going to harvest that one because it looks like it's about ready. And then here, this one's grown off of the side. They kind of look sad. I'm a little sad, but it's my fault because I didn't take them out quick enough. So this is what they look like once they start to fruit. So these are the fruits. And then this is all made from wood, and I don't know what other stuff they put in here, but if you're growing it in its natural environment, it would just be grown on wood. And I'll be showing you how to do that once I get my kit. So I got some mushroom spawn is what it's called, and you use that to inoculate wood. And once the wood is fully colonized by the fungus, then it starts to fruit. And that's what this is, and that's the shiitake fruit. And I'm just going to go ahead and pick it off. So you can just take it off like this. You can use scissors too. This is a shiitake mushroom. And you can eat this the way it is now. I'd prefer to cook it personally, but alternatively you can also dry these so that you can use it for dashi. So shiitake dashi is one of my favorite soup stocks. If you guys are familiar with shiitake dashi, it's basically mushroom stock made from dried shiitake, and it has plenty of umami. And the reason is because once you dry the mushroom, the cell walls, the structures get broken down, and after you rehydrate the dried mushrooms, once those cell walls get water back in them, it frees everything that was trapped inside previously. So right now, because it hasn't been dried and rehydrated, all those little umami compounds, these amino acids which help to enhance the flavor of your food, are trapped. They're trapped inside here. So that's why you got to dry it first and then rehydrate it to make dashi, and it's going to be way, way tastier. So actually, I'm just going to go ahead and take out the other ones also. Might as well harvest the other ones because they aren't looking so hot. So there's a couple other things that you need to do if you have one of these. One is you're supposed to mist it to keep it somewhat humid, because if it dries out, it's not going to fruit. And then the second thing is you need to, in between harvests, so right now I'm harvesting it, you need to also dunk the block in water to rehydrate it so that it can fruit again. So I'm not sure if that one is going to turn into a fruit, but maybe it will. So little nubs that look like they're going to form, but I think because they were kind of squished, I don't know if they're going to form. Maybe we should just take it off. It's going to start to grow mold. So sad. And it does smell pretty mushroomy, by the way. So that was my little show and tell for you guys. So I'm going to have lots and lots of mushrooms to grow and harvest and dry. And then what we're going to be doing is using all of that for my plant-based Japanese cooking because, you know, dashi is extremely important for Japanese cuisine and it's very delicious. So that was it. Okay, so let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. I can see all of you right now. So it looks like Shalina says, thanks for the lessons and the tips that I offer. Japan was home for her 2 years and 50 years ago, so 52 years. She loved the food. She's from Washington, cooking daily while the pandemic's there, and looking forward to the next lesson. Thanks for joining, Shalina. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Sharon. Hello, Becca. Hello, Christy. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Elsa. Hello, Hitomi. Hello, Abel. Hello, Jerry. Allison. Hello. Let me know what you guys are up to this weekend. I'm curious. We're just about ready to roll out and cut our ramen noodles. And that's going to be my lunch for today. So I don't think it's been quite 20 minutes yet, but for the sake of time, in the interest of time, we can just go ahead and take it out a little bit early. I don't think it's going to hurt. And I have some water here on the stove, which we're going to be using to boil the noodles. So I'm going to get that heated up. And then, as you guys know, for hiyashichuka, because they're cold noodles, you also need to get some cold water, ice water bath ready so that you can chill the noodles as soon as they're done boiling. So once you boil them, you're going to rinse them off with some cold water and then chill them in an ice water bath and serve them cold. Alright, so there's that. Talked about the mushrooms and go back to our little agenda here. If you guys are on Facebook and you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, you may want to go ahead and check that out. Also, if you have not yet joined my community, alldayeat.com/go/community is where you can join the plant-based Japanese cooking community on Facebook. Would love to have you. That's where we're going to be doing future live cooking videos like this one. So, and it's also a good place for you to meet other like-minded people. So, would recommend you check it out. Okay, so I'm going to just make some space. If you guys have questions or comments, leave them below, and then we'll do that just before. I'll check in with you just before we get into the rolling of the ramen. Okay. Alright, so I'm just going to grab a plate. I usually put my pasta onto a plate for simplicity's sake. And so for the dough, usually I break it up into smaller pieces so that it's easier to handle. This is cornstarch. Just going to put a little bit here. Put some on your hands too so that it doesn't stick to your hands. And just make sure you got the good camera angle. All right. So you can break this up into probably 4 dough balls. You can see it's nice and elastic right there. So I just tear it like that. And then you can just try to make it sort of in a flatter shape, like a disc. And then turn on your roller. You can even coat it a little bit with some starch beforehand, but it's not going to be as wet as a other type of dough, like pasta, egg dough. So there's the first one. I'm going to do it one more time. And you can do it one more time after that. You can see that it gets very flat, and then usually the eggs are irregular, or the edges are irregular, but it doesn't matter. You can just roll it again. And you can roll it one more time. So you can see initially there was sort of an irregular shape, but now it's more of a rectangle, and you can continue to roll it. Usually I increase the number to 2, so it's going to be thinner this time. You can do that once or twice, and then again. So here it's about twice as long. You can fold it again against itself. And then I'm going to change it to 3. And if you want thicker noodles, this is where you can stop. So roll it at this point and then stop. So I'm just coating this with flour because we're going to, or not flour, with starch, because we're going to set it down on top of each other, the layers on top of each other while we do the other ones. And you can actually cut it with a knife if you want it shorter noodles, but personal preference. Sometimes I cut them, sometimes I don't. Just going to set this right here. Need a little bit more starch. Always make sure to turn it back down to 1, and we're going to repeat. All right, so this is about 2 servings, a little bit less than that. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this one and then show you how I roll it out. I think our water is almost done. Just cut it like that. And so I use the spaghetti cutter, Cappellini spaghetti. This is the same one that I use when I make soba noodles. So if you're going to be doing soba noodles, you want to use this one, spaghetti. And soba noodles, if you've never had them before, if you make them from scratch, you can make them from 100% buckwheat, which is awesome. Or you can do 80-20, 80% buckwheat, 20% flour. Or you can do 90% buckwheat, 10% flour. It's up to you. Let me show you how I cut this really quick. Different angle. So just use a sharp knife and cut it, and it'll come right off, right apart. Of course, if you want really, really long noodles, then you don't need to do that. All right, so now what we're going to do is attach the other cutter. This is the spaghetti cutter. And we're going to cut the noodles, and then our water's boiling, so we're just going to drop it in there and cook it for about 1.5 minutes. And then we're going to chill it in some ice water. Let me get that ready. And I'll check in with you guys. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Let me know if you're enjoying this, if you're finding value. Consider sharing this with a friend if you think they would also enjoy it. All right, so here's some ice. We're just going to fill this up with water. And I usually just, to make it easier, to be more smart about this, if you've never done this before, I usually get a pretty big bowl like this one. And after I strain the noodles, I'll just dip the noodles in here, so I don't really have to fuss around with anything. After they've chilled, then I'll just take it out, and they'll be ready to serve. So if you have any other tips or hacks like that, let us know. We can all learn from each other. All right, so this is good. I'm just going to set this over here. And I think our water is boiling. So what we're going to do now is cut. We're going to cut these noodles. And it's almost time for lunch. And our tada is also done. I'll show you guys how this, actually I'll show you guys after the fact, after we're finished. And if your hands are wet, make sure to dry them so your noodles don't stick to you. Swipe left. All right, so here we are. We're going to go ahead and cut these. So here's how they look. All right, so these are done. This is about a half pound, a little bit less than a half pound, or a little bit more than a half pound of noodles. What we're going to do is go ahead and drop them in the hot water. Make sure to stir it up really quick so that they don't stick together. And I will go ahead and do this after we're done because I'm kind of hungry. So if you have any questions or comments, let me know. Make sure to check out the community if you haven't yet. And we're almost done. So if you want to get the recipes, you can check out the replay on my YouTube channel as well. Subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to see more plant-based Japanese cooking videos like this one. And what should I do for my next live cooking series? I was thinking about doing something with daisuke, soybeans, potentially bread. I'm not sure. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Always open to hearing what you guys are interested in cooking, what you want to learn. And somebody was asking, Mitsuno, hello Mitsuno, what speed was I using? So for the cutting, I usually do it at about 6 to 8 because I like a quick cut. For the rolling, I usually do it on maybe 2 to 4 at the fastest. But obviously, depending on how quickly you can work, you could do it quicker. I just prefer to do it that way. So let me show you how these noodles look. I think take a taste test really quick. See how the firmness is. A little bit longer. So, great thing about cooking at home is you can always cook to your tastes. I'm sure you guys realize that. And hello Marty and hello Julio. Nice to see you. And hello Suzanne. Let us know where you're watching from. We're just finishing up making hiyashichuka. So this is the, whoa. Noodles need to be strained in just a second. Always got to be careful that you don't let your noodles boil over. Make a mess on your stove. And always stir it so that they're evenly cooked. And also use a lot of water. Okay. So these are done. These are my favorite oven mitts, by the way. If you don't have good oven mitts, you should get these red ones. They're made from Kevlar, the same stuff that's used for bulletproof vests, and they're very, very insulating. They do a good job insulating. So here's how the noodles look, very chewy. And what we're going to do is just strain it right now. And then I'm going to rinse it in some cold water, and then we're going to set it in the ice bath. The reason that I rinse it is because you guys saw the starch that I was using, so it's going to have a little bit of a starchy texture, consistency, which will help to be reduced if you rinse it. Alright, so like I was telling you, the way that I cool the noodles really quickly is just by dipping this into the cold water. You guys should do this too. It's super simple. Just do it like that. And then give it a good mix so that the cold water gets incorporated. And once this is chilled, I'm going to go ahead and plate it. And that's essentially it. It's super easy. So if you guys have not yet tried making your own ramen noodles, now you guys know how to do it, and without any eggs. So it makes for a very light and refreshing meal, especially if you're going to be making hiyashichuka like we are today. And here's the tare. This is the shoyu tare, the hiyashichuka tare that we made. And then, of course, if you want to try the other variation, we have the miso tare right here, which you can also use. So we'll give this a couple more minutes to chill. I'm going to grab my plate. And for the serving, I don't have regular tomatoes. Usually you use the larger tomatoes, so we're just going to be using some cherry tomatoes. And one Japanese cucumber, and ham. We're going to do ham today. So obviously if you're a vegetarian or whatever, vegan, you could just use tofu. But I felt like doing ham today, so that's what we're going to use. I'm going to grab a plate, be right back. If you have any questions, leave them below. And we'll go ahead and answer those before we finish up. And my little mic windscreen keeps falling off. Okay, so here is the plate that we're going to be using. I'm just going to go ahead and put some of these on here. So I'm going to let it chill all the way. And I'm going to just go ahead and cut some of the vegetables. All right, so Suzanne says konnichiwa. Konnichiwa, Suzanne. And Tammy says she loves it. Thank you. Thanks for joining, guys. Hope this has been inspiring for you. And I'm just going to cut this in half. And usually the cutie is cut into very small matchsticks. So if you want to go for the traditional look, you can try to do that. Use a very sharp knife. Actually, cut this in half. And then the tomatoes are just cut into wedges. The ham is also cut into matchsticks, like the cutie. You can also put some shiso. Actually, I'm going to grab some shiso because I have some growing downstairs in my grow tent. If you guys have seen my Facebook page, I shared a picture yesterday of my garden down there. So I have some fresh shiso, which is ready to harvest. So there's that. There's the cutie, and then the tomatoes. I'm just going to have these. Actually, you can quarter them as well if you want to do that. What do you guys like to put in this dish? If you guys have had it before, let me know what your favorite things to put in here are. We talked about how I like to put ham, tomato, and cutie, which is what we're doing today. And then I usually vary up the flavors using the two tares that we made together, or one of the tares that we made together, the other one from yesterday. And this is the perfect way to cool down on a hot summer day, which is coming up, by the way. All right, so we have all that. Then we can go ahead and drop in our noodles. Don't want to soak them in here too long because they're going to get waterlogged. Oops, spilled some water on here. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and put these onto my plate. Like so. And for a traditional presentation, usually they'll put these like in 3 sections. So you'll get like cutie there. And you'll get tomatoes here. And then the ham on the other side. Something like that. Obviously these tomatoes aren't going to hold up because they're kind of small. But like I said, I didn't have the larger ones. If you want to take this to the next level, consider using heirloom tomatoes when they're in season. Makes for a very nice change if you're used to just regular tomatoes. Also, you could do tamagoyaki like we talked about, which is it's a fried flat egg, and you cut that into strips. You can even put some dashi in there to make it a little bit more savory. And overall, this is a really, really light meal. And that is essentially it. So go ahead and put the dressing around the side. Also known as the tare. I need to get like a mini ladle. That's the one. I have mini spatulas, but I don't have mini ladles. Do you guys have mini ladles? So Suzanne says she likes tamago and kamaboko. Kamaboko is another good thing that you can put on here, for sure. All right, so there it is. Our hiyashichuka, homemade noodles, homemade chukamen, and a little bit of tomato, some cutie, some ham, and homemade tare. And hope you guys get a chance to try this. Hope you enjoyed our video today, our little live stream. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, make sure to go ahead and check that out. soldaeat.com/go/YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and subscribe if you want to see more plant-based Japanese cooking videos like this one. Appreciate you guys. If you have any questions or comments, I'll go ahead and wait a few seconds because there's usually a delay. But yeah, cannot wait to eat this. Tammy says it reminds her of hiyashisomen. Yes, that's what I had yesterday. That's what this gomadare was for. Hiyashisomen. Cold somen noodles are delicious as well, just like hiyashichuka, a little bit on the lighter side, in my opinion. Another good alternative for hot weather. Maybe you guys can give that a try. Also. Okay, I don't see anything else, so if you have anything, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care. Ja ne. Bye-bye.